What's going on, team? One of the last jobs I'm going to do before this MX5 goes off to the scrapyard is just pop the diff out, and I thought I'd make a quick video today of doing that. This has got the slightly better, stronger diff on it. That's in the Mark II 1.6s, the Mark II 1.8, and also the Mark 1 1.8. My Mark 1 that I've just bought is a 1.6. It's got the smaller, sort of less strong diff. So I'm going to take this one out and just keep it as a spare. First thing, we've got the car up nice and high in the air on the front and the back, and we're just going to take this brace off here. There's 6 bolts to do this. These two have snapped off by the looks of it, but there's a couple more bolts down there. These are all 17mm bolts holding the brace. So what's happened here is someone previously has welded this because the head's come off the bolt, and they've welded the brace to the subframe. I could cut it, but what I've managed to do is bend this down out the way. Got the other 3 bolts down that side undone, and I think we'll have enough space there to get the diff out. Next thing is to make sure the diff is empty. Put a catch can underneath, and then undo this. I've done mine before, so I hope it should be empty. It's 24mm. Just to empty the diff. Oh, there's a little bit coming out. Oh well. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is pop that drive shaft out. Some people just say to sort of try and jimmy them out, maybe against the edge of the diff here, but I've had problems with that where I've snapped fins off the casing before. So what I quite like to do is get kind of like a chisel tool or something like that, just a thin one. Feed it right down into the groove down in there, and just give it a little tap with a hammer. There we go, and that's popped it slightly. There we go, and that's the drive shaft popped. Easy. To make sure we can get the drive shaft out of the diff, next thing we'll do, you need to come up here to the top of the hub. Excuse me, bush. And undo this top bolt here, and that will allow the hub to rotate outwards, and we can take the shaft out the diff. So now with that bolt undone, this hub comes down now, and that should give us enough to pull the shaft out. Okay, so next bit, I'm going to loosen these bits off for now. You've got these 2 bolts here and here which run up through the PPF, through the diff, and then out the other side of the PPF as well. These can be okay to undo, they can get a bit stuck sometimes. I'm going to undo these ones first, but then you don't want to take them all out because you have to hit them with a hammer, because there's sort of a weird mushroom type bolt that goes through the top of the PPF on the top. I'll show you when I get to it. That's probably about enough. Now I'm going to hit those with a hammer. I'm going to hit them with a bigger hammer. Right, that hasn't worked. And I thought it wouldn't, because it hasn't worked when I've done it on other diffs before as well. So I'm going to leave these as they are for the time being, carry on dropping the rest of the diff. What I'm going to probably end up doing is taking the PPF off the front end of the gearbox. That'll give you a good sort of idea of how to do that. So if you ever have this happen, which is highly likely, then you'll be able to follow that bit as well. Oh, love the smell of diff oil. So the next stage we've got is these bits up here. You've got these 2 bolts here, which hold, it's like a kind of brace between the diff, between this diff cup and the subframe. So undo these 2 bolts, and then the big one in the middle. Before you undo that big one in the middle, we're going to put a jack underneath the diff to support the weight of it. So I'm going to do these 2 first on both sides, then get the jack in to hold the diff underneath, and then we can do these bad boys here. Right, so the diff bolts are all undone. I've done the two 12mm that hold that brace plate, and then it's a 17mm for the main diff itself. I've just left them in loose, the 17mm bolts, so the diff is actually held in still. I've got the jack underneath just in case anyway. So now I'm going to move down the front end to the front of the PPF to undo that side. Okay, so the front end of the PPF is actually quite easy. You've got 3 bolts, that one, and that one. They all connect to the gearbox. Just like that. And then with a breaker bar or brace, just push that. There we go, and that's now free of the gearbox. So finally, you've got the speed sensor, and the wire goes through the PPF. What you need to do, just the other side is a clip. You can probably just about see that green clip. You just need to unpop that and pull the wire back through the speed sensor. If you don't, then you're going to rip that sensor out, or the wiring or something, when you drop the PPF. So the last little bit I'm going to do, just on the in front of the diff here, is just take those bolts off for the prop shaft. There, those 4 bolts. You don't have to, because the prop shaft does slide out the gearbox end, but just to damage anything, I'm just going to release those bolts now. 14mm. There we go, just like that. I can come down onto the ground, and it just pulls out the front end. There we go. Right, so finally ready to drop the diff. So MC neat moment. With a little bit of luck, hopefully now I'll lower the jack, the diff will come down. We might just have to manoeuvre the drive shaft out the side of the diff. Might have to move around the front to release the PPF from the gearbox. But hopefully, here we go. A bit tricky because this brace is still in the way, but it is going. Oh, it's 3 of the long bolts that hold it in place. They are long. There we go. Let's go around the front. Last little bit to do before the PPF will come off is all these little clips have got to come off, all these little white wiring clips so that hold the loom to the back. So we're just going to pop them off now. like quite easy. And now hopefully with a bit of a wiggle, oh, there we go. She's free. Beautiful. Now we can see what we mean about these weird mushroom type bolts. They kind of like go into the PPF, and it means that this won't come apart from the diff. They're kind of T-shaped like mushrooms, I guess. That's what they're mushroom bolts, until they've been popped out. So now we've got the diff out, just turn it over and I can give them a proper whack rather than from underneath the car, and hopefully they'll shift and we'll be good to go. Perfect. So they've now popped up, that's great. You can see, like I said, they're sort of threaded to go into in the sleeve as well. So like I said, unless you can get a proper whack on them, you ain't going to get them out. Like I said, I've done a couple of diffs now, and I've had to remove it with the PPF at the same time to get it to come down. There we go, so once those mushroom nuts are out, just pop these bolts out. Simple as that. Okay, so this last bit, you've got this little ridged bit here that goes inside into the diff. The way that I found is to get this off, just pick the diff up on the end, and then if we give this a little bit of a jimmy, a bit of a pull and a twist, slide to the top, and then it comes off. You can see it's kind of ridged there and fits inside that diff hole there. There you go. One diff, one prop to fit it. The shafts are just in the car. I got one out already, as you saw, but the other one I'm just going to press out through the hub, and that's it. All done, all out. So there we go, team. All done. A couple of tricky bits. You saw that brace wouldn't come up underneath. That was a bit tricky. The PPF was a little bit on the front end, but there's a pain that I had to drop off the PPF as well. But like I said, I think that's to be expected. Some people will get lucky. They'll give those a whack with a hammer, and they'll those mushroom nuts will come up, and you won't have to drop the PPF at all. But at least I've shown you how to do it. And then if you need, obviously, to put it back together, it's pretty straightforward. It's just the reverse of that. So if you like what you saw today, and you'd like to see more in the future, don't forget to chuck us a like and subscribe. See you next time.